Good morning, everyone. Steve Crosby here. Welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Musings. 1 Corinthians 4 has an interesting passage in it that, in my experience, people have abused to justify ridiculous behavior. And that's the famous passage where Paul says, we are fools for Christ. Now, first of all, he's either talking in the third person plural, sometimes called the imperial we, otherwise using a plural pronoun to refer to himself, but more likely he's referring to anybody who is so foolish as to believe in the resurrection of the dead. In his day, in his culture, and in his time, that would be considered ridiculous. But unfortunately, in many environments I've been in, this verse has been used to justify buffoonery and boorish behavior. Otherwise, particularly in Pentecostal and charismatic environments that I'm familiar with, any kind of nonsense, any kind of buffoonery, any kind of spasmodic behavior is the Holy Ghost. And if you don't understand it, or if you find it troubling, well, we're just being fools for Christ. No, this passage is not a justification for spiritual buffoonery. Now, on the evangelical non-charismatic side, it normally goes to the rejection that people feel when, they hardball somebody with the gospel, passing out tracts and going door to door and bothering people in the parking lot and something like that, where you're insensitive, aggressive, boorish, just intimidating, forceful with a gospel presentation, and you reject it and say, well, I'm just being a fool for Christ. No, you're just being a fool for yourself. That idea, that fool for Christ idea, can best be captured if we use a medieval analogy. We're probably all familiar with the character of the joker or the jester. Now, what was the point of having a jester in the king's court? The jester could speak truth to the king because the king was not threatened by what the jester would say, because the jester is a fool and he doesn't pose any threat to the king's ego or the king's rule or the king's dominion. So the fool becomes the safe truth teller. I'm going to say it again. The safe truth teller. The truth teller who does not threaten. Now, in that sense, that is what Paul is referring to when he refers to himself or the group he's with or followers of Jesus as fools for Christ. It pairs up with the passage of being as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. It does not mean that you're boorish, insensitive, relationally unwise, aggressive behavior can be glossed over and justified over with a mere quoting of this verse. It doesn't mean that. It means both in the content and the delivery, there's a foolishness. So the content is philosophically foolish, particularly for Paul's day. Not so much in our day because Christianity has been around for so long, even though academics and philosophers would consider everything we believe foolish. That's true. But it also includes the element where we are despised and considered fools, but we can present truth even to people in authority in a way that's not threatening them, in a way that doesn't attack them. So much that passes for so-called Protestant evangelical fundamentalistic evangelism is an attack. It's not sharing the gospel. It's attacking somebody. And inherent in the message and the way it's presented is, you're wrong, we're right, you need to have what we have. If you don't, you're going to go to hell when you die. That's being a buffoon. That's being a boor and a relationally ignorant person. That's not being a fool for Christ. So being a fool for Christ is someone who has learned to speak truth in a non-threatening manner. And I've had the privilege of dealing with different people as I learned this lesson the hard way, including authority figures, people I've worked for, people for whom my income was dependent. And by the grace of God, I learned how to present truth to them in a way that dignified them, not attacking them, not deconstructing them, in a way that dignifies their humanity and makes the message of the gospel receivable, because I have presented the truth in a non-threatening way, exactly the way the jester in a king's court in medieval times would have done. Meditate on that, and I'll see you the next time.